So with that, we've got a few minutes yet, so let me open the floor to questions. If you got questions, go ahead and throw them out there and see if we can address them for you.
I actually have a question for Mark while we're waiting for a couple to come across here. So Mark, I really appreciated that you had those separate rooms for potential buyers where you're only giving them what they ask for. You're not loading them up with giant slide decks and information unless it comes to that point. Do you see that some of the buyers out there, strategic buyers, try to get aggressive and get a letter of intent into your hands pretty quickly prior to, like I've seen in my industry with equipment rental, where a letter of intent will pop up after somebody gets 3 years of financials to look at. So do you find that with insurance agencies or no different?
It can happen. They tend to be more strategic type of buyers who are not as experienced in doing M&A. I just sold another company recently where we did get a very, very quick term sheet, and his own lawyer said, well, wait a minute, do you know this is true, that is true? He hadn't even looked at the financials. We sent him financials. He hadn't looked at it, but my client was very trustworthy. I like to think we're very trustworthy. Everything we told him was true, but he hadn't done diligence. That is much more the exception than the rule, though. When you're dealing with private equity buyers, they will have scads of, guys who got 4.2 GPAs and perfect scores on their SATs looking at numbers.
Gotcha. I'm not sure if you can read this chat, but there was a submission from John, who's in our group, who had a really good question. It had to do with how do we prepare for valuation for an internal sale? As you know, you have your external sales, lots of times asset-based. Internal sale might be more of an equity value. Talk to us about that a little bit.
All right, so what I do is I actually do, but you obviously don't have to use me. There are valuation services out there. I leverage technology, a company called Biz Equity. And with Biz Equity, what I'll do is I'll work with you to get the last 3 or 4 years of your financials, and I'll input it into the system. And what we'll do is we'll look at everything from the equity value, the asset value, the enterprise value, to the salvage value. So what's great about Biz Equity, it's focused on the lower middle market, uses private information which they have collected through thousands of sources on similar deals. Because as you know, Dan and Gerald, that you can't look at valuations of $2 billion companies to value a $2 million company. The multiple is going to be much lower at the 2 million because there's much greater risk than 2 billion. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. And obviously you're using, with Biz Equity, then you're using the SIC code specific for the industry on the input. Yeah, okay.
You input the SIC code, and I input different growth factors. Just like I used to do valuations. One of my master's degrees was in finance, and so I used to build models separately each time. The problem was it's easy to build a model, but it's garbage in, garbage out. So, the problem is when I was dealing at Citi and Bank One, and I was buying publicly traded companies, that's easy because all the data is available. But when you're buying $2 or $5 million or $10 million companies with no data available, you need the data. So that's why I moved over. And I forget how much costs thousands of dollars to have this service, and you need to know numbers to be able to use it. But you're able to project growth. You're able to project your EBITDA, etc.
Gotcha. Okay. And people, if you'd like, you can use the chat also to submit a question if you can't use the Q&A bar. I do have a follow-up question for you, not
Sure.
to take everybody's time up. So what I found with this group in particular is they're an aggressive group. They want to grow. They're in stages where they're not necessarily ready to exit. Maybe a few are, but for the most part, they're looking to grow, and they want to grow through acquisition. Is that something where you, from a service standpoint, you can also work with them on kind of their growth plan from an acquisition standpoint, especially with money being available today at a very low rate?
Yeah, sure. So I built my career being a turnaround guy. So I would usually come into a business that might have, tons of revenue and good clients, but it wasn't operating efficiently. So where I can really help out, or others like me people have had a lot of experience in optimization, so everything from, digital optimization to optimization of your P&L. Most agencies just need to look harder at their expense lines, and then also have to redirect some of that money. It's not just like you slash and burn. It's you save some money, but then you invest in the right areas. And a lot of those areas today are technology, where you're bringing in, instead of, tens of leads, thousands of leads, right? So that's, you get blown away when you see the technology at the kind of incredible, the way it can really jumpstart your sales.
Excellent. Okay, great. Gerald, anything on it? You have any questions?
I don't. I've actually had the pleasure of meeting Mark Pryor, and I unloaded on him during that session, so I really don't at this point.
I would say one more comment that I discovered when we were preparing for this webinar, which I think is an incredible opportunity. The peer groups themselves are very inexpensive to join. The intention is to keep those fees very low. So you have two very productive meetings as a group in front of each other. There are some ancillary benefits of peer executive groups you can find that. But because the rate's low, the intention, what we're trying to do there is we're trying to encourage you to use outside consultant services to help you to implement your action items. So I know that Mark provides some of those services. You heard about that early on. And Mark and I were dreaming big about the idea a couple days ago of, hey, 2 meetings a year, action items between meetings. Okay, is there some room there for some strategic coaching? Mark's obviously available. We also have a number of other management consultants who are available. Mark obviously knows the industry better than any of the other management consultants. But I think that that's something that we are going to continue to explore. So by all means, if anybody has any interest in hearing more about that, make sure you reach out and contact us.
By the way, one of our friends who joined the group, as you know, Dan, he was in a Marshberry group prior. Them fees were rocking him about $12,000 a year. We're a modest $200 a month. So we're in it not to make money. We're in it to help build the group and learn from each other and grow our agencies. As I mentioned beforehand, we do have a couple of guys on this call that can help with strongly with areas of technology, making sure all your technology is working, making sure you got the right technology in place, making sure those metrics are gauged, making sure they drive leads to your business. And I'm sure that they will be more than willing to join us on a conference call much like this. So we'll be having those discussions. And again, these are all benefits that are available for being part of the peer group.
Just real quick, I wanted to make a note that this particular webinar has been recorded and it will be posted and available to you. In addition, we will have some slides available to you as well. So I know that question came up. Yeah, so Mark had listed that. Thanks, Mark. Okay. Anything else, Gerald or Mark?
Oh, thanks very much.
No, that's all. We will send a follow-up email with the slide presentation. And also we will follow up and send out some information on the peer group and an application. So great having you all on the call. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Dan, and thanks everybody.
Take care.
Thank you, Gerald, for pulling this together, and thank you, Mark, for making yourself available. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Bye now.